Hi, Charles SirBookSage here, and this is my Booktube Rereadathon Wrap Up video for January 2018. For those of you who may not be aware, CatalystReads created the Booktube Rereadathon that runs through the entire year of 2018. Each month there is a different reading challenge, and it's pretty laid back. There's no specific days during any of these months you need to perform any of these challenges. It's just open to you for the whole month. I will link to his original announcement video down below. It has the breakdown of what all the challenges are he came up with for each month of the year. Now for January, it is reread your favorite or one of your favorite standalone books of all time and reread your favorite book that is part of a series. And I am kind of cheating here. I picked one book that for me hits both categories. Now I know you may be saying, well, hold up, Charles. It's either a standalone or part of a series. It can't be both. I will challenge that notion right now. My choice is Tolkien's The Silmarillion. This is one of my favorite books, maybe my favorite book. If I were to go to a desert island and I could only pick one book to bring with me, and that's the only thing I would ever have to read again, this is the book. This, by the way, is the first edition hardcover that I've had since it was published in 1978. And I've got, I don't know how many copies of this book. A few hardcover, some paperback, ebook. Whenever I see a new and interesting version of it, I tend to eventually pick it up. But back to the Rereadathon here. So you may be asking, how is this both a standalone and a series book? The Silmarillion is pretty much a completely self-contained story. It deals with the creation of the world of Middle-earth and all the major events of the First Age and the rise and fall of Numenor. And the events in the Lord of the Rings trilogy are the events in the final days or the final year of the Third Age. In that book, the Third Age comes to an end and the Fourth Age begins. This is the creation of the world and the start and all the events carrying you all the way through the First Age. And I think the rise and fall of Numenor, I guess, is technically probably the Second Age, but I'd have to go back and look at how that timeline works. So it is definitely self-contained, but because it's part of the overall Middle-earth stories, it kind of fits both for me. So I'm going with that. And I read the first two sections of this book. It is divided up, I think, into like 4 or 5 sections. And I read the Ainu Lindale and the Valaquenta. The Ainu Lindale is the creation myth. It deals with, there was Eru the One, who in Arda is called Iluvatar, and he made first the Ainur, the holy ones, that were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before aught else was made. And he speaks to them. These are sort of archangels, holy beings, and he speaks to them, kind of puts a vision of the universe and the world he'd like to see in their heads. And then they create the world through song. They kind of sing the world into existence. And the Ainu Lindale is about that, the process of creating the world where Middle-earth exists, creating the rivers and the mountains and the landscapes and all of these things. And kind of going over each one of the Valar. The Ainur are also known as the Valar. And there's a bit of Greco-Roman kind of feel to it in a sense, because Manwë deals with the air. I think it's Olmo deals with the water. Each one kind of hits a different element or part of nature. And one of the reasons Tolkien created these stories was he grew up on all the great sort of mythologies of other cultures. And he looked at his own country of England and felt that other than Arthur, it was missing those like grand, epic scale kind of mythologies. So this was him sort of creating them for England, for Britain. And this is the beginnings of that. And one of the Valar, just so if you're not aware, a quick rundown, one of the Valar is known as Melkor. And Melkor is the one who kind of breaks away and is envious and starts messing things up. And he becomes the first Dark Lord of this whole world. He is Sauron's master. Sauron comes much later in the story. Way more powerful than Sauron, which kind of gives you an idea if you've read The Lord of the Rings or seen the movies. You kind of get an idea of how powerful Sauron is. Melkor is way beyond him in terms of power and strength. But that's kind of what this first section, the Ainu Lindali, covers. And the Valaquenta is the next section. And the Valaquenta is kind of a quick rundown of all the major players. It recaps all the different Valar, recaps Melkor and all of his people, and kind of sets the stage for the coming of the elves, and then all the events of the First Age. The bulk of the book is called the Quenta Silmarillion, and all the events of the First Age are in that section, and that's the bulk of this book. Part of what I'm going to be doing in 2018 is each month I'm going to have some form of Tolkien content every month. For the Booktube Rereadathon, I chose to do Tolkien for that. So I'm kind of combining that Rereadathon participation this month and my Tolkien content. Now, I'm going to be working through the rest of this book. I've read this many, many, many times, but I'm going to be working through the rest of this throughout the year. And when I get to certain sections, like of Beren and Luthien, I'm going to be deep diving into that story, whichever particular month I get around to it. Because I have this original version here. I think there's another version of it in Unfinished Tales. And there's the Beren and Luthien novel that came out just last year in 2017, where Christopher Tolkien, I think, combed through all of his father's writings, all the various versions of the story, and kind of culled together a more fleshed out novel version. And Tolkien also wrote a lot of these stories in epic poem form, because a lot of the old mythologies were written as like epic poems before they became like prose literature versions. And so he wrote a lot of these stories that he has here in this. He also wrote as epic poems. So the Lay of Luthien, which tells the tale of Beren and Luthien, is like 150 pages long, and that's in the Lays of Beleriand. I think it's book 4 of the Histories of Middle-earth series that I have. So one of these months I'm going to be deep diving into that story and reading all the different versions, and kind of either recording one video or a couple, like maybe a mini-series video about that story. But I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to CatalystReads for his Booktube Rereadathon. This is sort of a quick little mini wrap-up. Since I didn't read a full 2 books, I only read 2 sections of this book. It's a quick wrap-up. And also, again, this is my Tolkien content for January 2018. I'll probably put together a Tolkien playlist at some point throughout this year once I have enough material. And this one's kind of combine both of those. Check the link in my description. Go watch his video. There's a lot of cool topics here. I think if he's doesn't have it up already, he's probably going to have his February TBR for his Booktube Rereadathon coming up very soon. So definitely go check that out. He's got a great channel anyway. Lots of discussion videos too. If you like Booktube discussion videos, his channel is full of them. If you have read the Silmarillion, I would love for you to hear in the comments, do you have a particular favorite story in it? If you haven't read the Silmarillion, I would highly recommend it. It is a challenge. The opening section kind of does throw people off because the Ainu Lindali is written kind of has a very biblical feel to it. But then it moves into, once you get past these 2 opening sections, which together only encompass about 40 pages. Once you get past that and you get into the Quenta Silmarillion, which is the main bulk of the book, it starts to become stories. So I know it's pretty off-putting for some people when they first begin it. But I highly recommend it. There's just, if you like the whole Lord of the Rings stories, there's so many like things mentioned throughout the trilogy. People like Elbereth and all those things. You'll get to read about all those sort of things mentioned by the elves and by Aragorn. You'll get to read about them all in here and what their actual stories were. Again, highly, highly recommend it. So I am going to sign off here. I've got my dinner almost ready. I'm starving. I'm going to eat, probably read for a little bit. I actually have to work again later tonight, and then get up and go to work really early in the morning. So there's not going to be a lot of sleep today. And I will have another video. This was supposed to be my Wednesday video, but it's here on a Thursday. So you'll see me tomorrow again as well, tomorrow night, probably with my Friday reads. And I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on the passing of Ursula K. Le Guin, one of my all-time favorite authors. So look for that tomorrow as well. And with that, I will bid you good night. And I'm Charles with SirBookSage. Happy reading.